Hi, I'm Mr. Kangas, and today we're going to be taking a look at Chapter 10, Section 1, Line and Angle Relationships. And in particular in this video, we're going to be going over some examples of what you might be expected to do in this section for work. Now when you get to the worksheets, there's typically going to be a couple of problems that look like this, where you're given the transversal, the angles are numbered for you. They won't necessarily be numbered with the same numbers I'm using now or in the same order in which I'm using now, but you will have them labeled. And it might tell you that, for example, angle 3 is 60 degrees. And then it might ask you to find the rest of the angles. Now, eventually you're going to notice with a transversal there is a pattern to how the angles work. There are actually only 2 degrees that you will find, or 2 measurements that you will find. So for example, I can tell you right now that angle 3 is 60 degrees and angle 4 is 120 degrees, and so that means that all 8 of these angles are either 60 or 120 degrees. There's a zigzag pattern that exists. I am not concerned about whether or not you can tell me the degrees of all the angles, but more importantly, I want to know why you know that angle is that degree, is that measurement. So for example, if you were going to tell me, as I just told you, that angle 4 is 120 degrees, I would need the explanation. I want to know, how do you know? Well, if angle 3 is 60, I know angles 3 and 4 are supplementary because they're connected to that straight line. So you would need to write angle 4 is 120 degrees because angles 3 and 4 are supplementary. So I would need this explanation for you to tell me. I don't want to just know that angle 4 is 120 degrees. I want to know, why is it 120 degrees? How did you know? Well, I gave you this piece of information, so from that you were able to figure out this. Okay? From there, you might take a look at angle 1. And you might say, okay, well, now that I know angle 4, I know angle 1 is also 120 degrees. Because angles 1 and 4 are vertical angles. And vertical angles are congruent, the same size. So if angle 4 is 120, angle 1 is 120. From there, you might be able to say, so hold on, let me fill in the chart so far. We said angle 3 was 60 degrees. We said angle 4 was 120. We said angle 1 was 120. So from there you may say, okay, well, I know that angle 6 is 60 degrees because angle 6 and angle 3 are alternate interior angles. So you need to label the correct property for why it is you know that angle is that measurement. I know angle 6 is 60 degrees because angles 6 and 3 are alternate interior angles. Now, does that mean that there's only one correct answer? No. A lot of times there are a couple of correct answers, depending on what point in the worksheet you're at. There are many ways to identify an angle. Angle 6 is alternate interior to 3. Angle 6 is supplementary to angles 5. It is also supplementary to angle 8 and several other angles that are not connected to it or adjacent to it. Angle 6 is corresponding to angle 2. So there's all kinds of different things you can do to figure out how big these angles are. But they're going to be asking you to find the angles in a certain order, which is going to limit some of your creativity a bit in discovering how big these angles are. but what you are going to notice is there will be a zigzag pattern. So as you can see, there's 120 degrees and there's 60-degree angles, and so it tends to zigzag. So you have angles 1, 4, 5, and 8 are all 120. And then angles 2, 3, 6, and 7 are all 60. But again, I'm not worried about you just filling out the chart. I want explanations to go with it. And if I don't see those, you do not get credit. Hopefully you've been taking notes. If you haven't, pause it, rewind it, do whatever. I'm going to talk about one more type of problem, and it's going to involve a little bit of algebra. So with supplementary and complementary angles, you may be told that angle 1 equals x plus 4, and angle 2 equals x minus 10. And you also may be told that angles 1 and 2 are supplementary. So from there, they might ask you how big are angles 1 and 2. You should be able to figure this out. Now, I don't feel like I should have to tell you this, but I know sometimes I have to remember you guys are only 12 and 13 years old. So basically at this point we know angles 1 and 2 are supplementary. So we know, based on this information, that angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. We also know that angle 1 can be written as x plus 4. So I'm going to replace angle 1 with x plus 4. Right? Because angle 1 and x plus 4 are the same thing. That's what the equal sign tells me. I know angle 2 can be represented as x minus 10. So I'm going to replace angle 2 with x minus 10. I now have a multi-step equation to solve for x. I'm going to combine I'm going to keep flip change my subtraction sign, so we're going to do plus, or add the opposite, plus a negative 10. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. 1x plus 1x is 2x. 4 plus negative 10 is negative 6. I'm going to add positive 6 to both sides, or I could subtract negative 6. It's the same thing. So you do 2x plus negative 6 plus 6 equals 180 plus 6. And so we get 2x equals 186. So again, this is a basic two-step equation at this point. You should know how to do this. Last step, divide both sides by 2. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to kind of skip the work for that step, and I'm just going to go right to the answer. Since I'm dividing both sides by 2, I get x on the left side, and 186 divided by 2 is 93. So now I can tell you how big angles 1 and 2 are, because I know that x is 93. So if x is 93, I'm going to 93 plus 4 would be 97 degrees. If 93 minus 10, that would be 83 degrees. And just to double check to make sure I'm correct, I know angles 1 and 2 are supposed to be supplementary. That means they add up to 180. 97 plus 83 does in fact add up to 180 degrees. Now if these were complementary angles, I would have to have put this equal to 90 degrees. Because remember, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees instead of 180. So that's all I got for you on Chapter 10, Section 1. I know there were a lot of videos in this section, but there's a lot of new vocabulary here that you had to learn. So hopefully you've been patient, and hopefully you have taken good notes. If you have any questions, let me know.